Tonight, I'll give you the story behind the new empire. Rex is in a tizzy. We have some new sponsors and some new social outlets as well. Hey, cinematic class is about to begin. Your professor is in. Greetings, salutations, another sundry affair. I am your cinematic professor and purveyor of truth in movies. Welcome to the show, and we also want to give a fresh new welcome to a new sponsor, new and old. We have them every year. They come back. It's New Dimension Comics, who are sponsors of the Three Rivers Comic-Con. It's about that time again. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on in the show, but they are back as a sponsor for the show. And a lot of good, exciting things happening with the con this year. We'll let you know about that. You know, it took an awful lot of time, pondering, browbeating, whatever you want to call it. But Rex Real and I finally have a Twitter account. I guess technically it's X account. There were a lot of, we put off this thing for an awful long time. We really did. And I think the determining factor was after Elon Musk bought Twitter out, and then after he changed it to X, and he started putting something called notes on the post where people could, say, this doesn't go with this or this, whatever. Not fact checkers per se, but notes from other people reading. After that happened, many of my, I shouldn't say peers, let's say colleagues, really complained and became very, very upset. And I thought, well, if they're this upset, it must be worthwhile getting on there. So we're going to give it a shot. We've only been on there for about a week or so. And already we have 12 people following us. I think about 8 of them are bots. I'm not sure. It's people I've never heard of. But anyway, it's pretty good interaction there from some of the people that I do recognize. We're able to talk back and forth. It's a little bit more instantaneous than some of the other social networks are. Let me plug this URL up here for you. It's https://twitter.com/RexReal. And Rex and Real are both capital R's. So that's twitter.com/RexReal. So even though it's X, I guess they're still going by the Twitter URL there. Get on there. Join up. We'd be glad to talk with you. And movies, of course. So, speaking of movies, let's get into tonight's review, shall we? This movie had a strike against it before it even began because it surrounds country western music. And I guess by now most of you know I am not a fan of country western music. However, that strike against it with the country western music was eliminated by a Gretsch White Falcon. All right, now there's a story here, so I've got to tell you about it. Back in the 5th grade, I started studying guitar. Now I've been playing ever since, all right? And I'm very, very happy with my Gibson Les Paul Black Beauty. I think it's a magnificent instrument. But the one instrument that I always wanted and never had a chance to get was the Gretsch White Falcon. I really like that guitar, okay? Not only is the Gretsch White Falcon featured in this movie, but the original White Falcon is in this movie. It was fun just to watch that. I got to tell you, it was a lot of fun. Hey, Beau Bridges is in this. Now, it's kind of interesting in a way because Beau Bridges is now doing a movie about a country western singer, songwriter, and he's following in the footsteps of his brother Jeff. Jeff Bridges was in Crazy Heart, and Crazy Heart was nominated for awards, and it was the launching pad, if you will, for Scott Cooper. And back then, before he became all Hollywood and what have you, we were able to snag an exclusive interview with him here on the show. That interview is still online, and you can go and scope it out, our interview with Scott Cooper. It is an exclusive. So the Bridges brothers are back in here again. All right, let me get all these names for you here so I can read this up for you. Rob Mays plays Wayne Collins. He and his brother are on their way to Nashville stardom when they're involved in a very tragic car crash. Leaves the brother kind of damaged up. And then on top of that, the record producers from Nashville don't want a brother team. They just want Wayne. They don't want his brother. They kind of break it up, and as a result, they don't get their fame and stardom. So we jump ahead in the movie 7 years, and Wayne has a chance encounter with aging country western star Claude Allen, who is played by Beau Bridges. Now, Claude really likes Wayne's songs, and he decides to help him once again break into the country western music world. But is he really trying to help Wayne, or is he just trying to revive his broken career? Hey, there are some cameos in this movie by Pam Tillis, Lee Brice, and Grace Ashbury. This movie is too long. I mean, it's pretty much a template movie. You know where it's going to go, what the plot twists are, and how it's going to end, and it just takes way too long to get there, meandering through paths that are unnecessary. We can blame editor Cindy Parisotto for this. She needs to show a little bit more discretion when sitting in the editing suite. This movie was written and directed by William Wages, and it was shot by Paul Crumper. There's an interesting twist to this movie, and it's probably one of the reasons why I stayed through it. Even though it's a movie about country western music, outside of the featured country western tunes, the rest of the musical score was penned by Arturo Sandoval. And those of you who are into music know that Arturo is a premium jazz musician. So that combination was kind of interesting. The movie is formulaic. And other than the good look at that Gretsch White Falcon, there's really nothing new here. It's a feel-good movie. You can watch it, and it will relax your mind.
Give a big old welcome to the Collins Brothers!
What's going on in Nashville? Good evening. You wrote a hell of a song. You're a great singer.
This song can't lose. It'll be just like the good old days.
Woo! We got a record deal!
You know I've always loved your music, but I love you more.
You owe me the money.
Can't afford this.
I still got a job.
There's no future in it, Wayne. You know that better than anybody. Buck wants the song.
You made it way better.
That's righteous, man. This is righteous.
Living the dream on a neon highway, playing this guitar, singing my song.
You got him going again. You show him how it's done.
Living the dream on a neon highway.
You know, this next movie, well, at first, Easter, Bloody Easter appears to be a comic horror film which is going to spoof and make fun of Texas yahoos and churchgoers. My friends, but this is a woman-driven film, and so it's not very long into the movie before it slips into an agenda-driven morass. Good word usage. Diane Foster directs this, and she also stars in the movie as Jeannie. Jeannie, I guess, is the closest character we can come to as labeling as a protagonist that this film will offer. It is written for about 20% of the pages, the first 20%, by Allison Lobel, and she's done a good job in the setup. And then after the first 20 minutes, roughly 2 reels, The film then degenerates into a one-joke doormat. Alexa Cha and Nancy Foster handle the camera and the editing duties respectively. The film was made very proudly, because it says so in the credits, under the auspices of the Gender Balanced Productions. Now that should tell you all you need to know about this movie. Now, while Allison is spoofing good old country folk, it doesn't take her long to infuse queers, mixed marriages, trans agendas all into the plot. There's even a scene in this, folks. And remember, we're supposed to be in rural, good old boy Texas town. There's a scene in this where there's a trans dance show held in the local church. It just, nothing fits. It features the jackalope. Now, the jackalope is a werewolf-like creature who plagues the townfolk of Wahlberg. Yeah, that was done on purpose, too. I'm sure Mark is very honored by this, naming the town after him. Jeannie and her best friend Carol, who is played by Kelly Grant, are the only ones convinced that the jackalope has returned and is responsible for a spat of recent killings. Mary Lou, who is played by Allison Coble, is the little Miss Priss of the town. She's also the town busybody, and she's convinced that everything in Wahlberg is just fine. Jamie Klein plays the jackalope, which is, they've taken a giant Easter bunny costume, changed the white fur into black fur. They've put big fang teeth on it and large claws, and then they stuck red eyes on it. It's kind of a cheesy looking monster, it really is. The movie runs out of laughs after the first two reels, and afterwards it's a rather inane, bitter, liberal rant on middle America. Folks, this movie is simply horrible.
Better run, you're gonna hop, hop, hop. It's an Easter time. So grab your baskets and some comfy shoes. All you gotta do is follow the clues.
This here is supernatural.
The great horned rabbit. Them jackalopes is a shapeshifter. Human one moment.
Bunny deer the next?
Bingo, gringo. Soon every rabbit within 20 miles gonna be at his beck and call.
Clues are coming in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
What happened? Bunny's around! Curse you, you gosh darn jackalope!
You know who the jackalope is?
Negative. Monster's a monster, and I'm gonna kill it.
This is fun.
So hop to the left, now hop to the right. Everybody shake your little cottontails on the floor tonight.
Everybody!
Is that a grenade?
Guns don't kill people.
I do.
I love an Easter egg hunt. Die, stupid rabbit!
The Beatles are back making movies. That's coming up for you when Outtakes with Rex Reel continues right after this. Folks, one of our main sponsors for years now has been the House of Arusa Barbershop and Cigar Lounge. And both of them, hey, it's prime season. Now look, at the barbershop, it's your time to get that new spring and summer look. And Sam's got some of the best talent, some of the best products, and certainly some of the best skills to help you style and profile, looking and getting ready for all that warm weather. And in the Cigar Lounge, hey, they've got a big sale going on. There's 25% off of Leaf by Oscar. Those are some fine cigars. And right now, if you go down and see Sam, 25% off the price. How can you go wrong? It's the House of Arusa Barbershop and Cigar Lounge. They're located at the corner of South Park Road and Drake Road. They sponsor the show. Won't you sponsor them? Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, I have some really tidbit things for you in this week's Biz Buzz. But before we do that, I think now would be a good time to peel back those veils of time and go back to the early Cretaceous period for the nation's first and only prehistoric film critic, Rex Real.
This is probably one of the worst movies I've seen in quite some time. Written and directed by Mark Newton, the film won Best Horror Film at the Hollywood Global Film Festival, proving everyone at the festival was higher than a kite. Every week, me and the fellow Rexes get together at the watering hole for bro night. Perhaps after the 5th or 6th round, had we watched this movie, it may have had some redeeming entertainment, but that certainly was not the case. It tries to be a horror comedy, but the horror comes from generous blood splattering, which is done with poor matting. The comedy is based on zombies trying to live a normal, all-American life. Certainly, the platform for comedy is there, like the conclusion of Shaun of the Dead, but this film misses the mark on every turn. It's dreadful. Watch at your own risk.
Time to wake up, mi vato loco.
Slay will fall victim to ball knuckleheads and bad aim. Some go up, some go down. Some get stuck in the realm when the way down. Lives get to violently on the streets of a lost city.
Rex did not like that movie. I got to agree with him on this. It was really terrible. And here's the bad part. Cholo Zombies apparently was a movie. I missed that one, thankfully. It came out a couple of years ago. So this one, Cholo Zombies Monstro, is the follow-up to it. I have no idea why these people did this. It's that bad. Speaking of people, it's time again for the Three Rivers Comic-Con, and we want to help welcome back to the show our new sponsor, New Dimension Comics. Todd and John are there. They'll be coming on the show in a future episode to talk about the con. But for those of you that have been following the show, you know every year we like to help sponsor these folks. Boy, I say this every year, and it's true. I get all of my Christmas shopping done at the Three Rivers Comic-Con. I really do. There's some great things. And this year, of course, they're going to have the exhibitors. They're going to have panels there. They're going to have the cosplay people there and a cosplay contest. You'll probably know, if you're into comics, you know the name Ron Frenz and Pat O'Leaf, and they're both going to be there. They're always there, along with a whole bunch of other people coming in too. It's going to be held at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center in downtown Pittsburgh. It'll be June 1st and 2nd. And you know, Todd's always big about having a custom beer every year for the Comic-Con, and he promises they're going to make up a deal and have a custom beer for this one too. So all of the good effects that helped the con along in years past are all coming back. Plus there's more surprises too, and we'll talk about those on future shows. It is the Three Rivers Comic-Con at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center, June 1st and 2nd. I know I'm going to be there, and I hope to see you down there as well. It's always a good time, and it's always nice to have them sponsor the show as well. Hey, I told you I had some big news in the Biz Buzz. We should get to that segment now. All right, let's give you some news now behind the camera, behind the scenes, if you will. The Sunlight International Film Festival will be held this month, April 16th through the 20th. So depending when you're watching the show, it may be on or it may be over. It's a showcase for filmmakers who are deaf. I think this is a very worthy cause. Back in the day when I was teaching TV video production, both on the high school and college level, I would do a field trip down to the School of the Deaf. And back then, the school had its own TV studio. And what those kids down there were able to do, I thought, was absolutely fascinating. I mean, just the kids they had that were running the audio board, kids who were deaf, running the audio board, miking the talent. It was fantastic. And you know, a lot of times their sound came out. It was so pristine. It was great. So that was always a time when we would go down there. We'd have a very good time, and certainly the students would learn an awful lot. I think it's a worthy cause. So this is on an international level. I think it's even better. You know what will happen now? There'll be some TV video teachers who will watch this show and say, hey, that's a pretty good idea. They'll set up a field trip down to the School of the Deaf TV studio and say they came up with the idea and everything. It's all right, just so the kids learn. That'll be worthwhile. It was an awful lot of fun, and you do learn a lot. You know, something really weird is going on with Gab. Now, we've been on Gab for a good number of years, and they have a very unique audience, Gab does. And we had a page there which would garner quite a few. The owner of Gab, who is Andrew Torba, has shifted his site from a free posting social site to a pay per month site. That doesn't fly at all. If you want to put up videos, pictures, or retain them on your page, you got to pay a monthly fee. Now, according to Torba, he needs to do this because his site was being sabotaged by bots who were flooding the server, trying to crash down his site and stop his posts from being. I'm not getting into any of that technical stuff. I don't know that. What I know is that you're talking about the nation's first and only prehistoric film critic, and if they grace your social site with their presence and their reviews, that is quite an honor. If anything, Gab and Torba should be paying us to be on the page and offering our talents to them. We do not do it the other way around. Now, what we're going to do with Gab is we're going to leave the page up there for now, but I've got to tell you that boy, they're going into that and they're just eliminating the posts whenever they willy-nilly. So even though you'll go to the Outtakes with Rex Reel page and it will say nearly 200 posts, you probably only see like one or two of them, and then that's it. Now, the one or two they're showing are the most recent, so that's okay. As long as they're putting up the latest ones and holding them there, you can watch the latest reviews on Gab if that is your sojourn. But we'll see how things play out. There's a possibility we may have to take that off of the social sites. But for now, we'll leave it on there. So those of you who are used to going to Gab, it'll be there. Boy, there's a big controversy with the Super Awards. You know, the Critics' Choice Association, of which I am a charter member, held the Super Awards, and these were movies that cater basically to the masses. When it first started, it was a really good idea. This year, wow, did it go bust? The big controversy came in the movies that were nominated for the Super Awards, and the biggest controversy came over the movie All of Us Strangers. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with this movie is basically the Alphabet Agenda movie. Okay, it's a movie for homosexuals, and there was big hope that it would garner a lot of awards. It didn't. None of the organizations really recognized it or its cast. So as a result, it somehow ends up in the CCA Super Awards under horror movies. There's nothing in this movie about, they grabbed the people who nominated the movie and they said, well, what's the deal? Why did this even get in here? And the rationale, the raison d'etre, if you will, was because, well, it's just so terrible trying to be a homosexual in today's world that it's monstrous and therefore it's horrible. So it qualifies as a... Sit your punk ass down. It doesn't work that way. It went against everything. Boy, everybody in the organization was railing, except those that had nominated it, of course. And I don't know what's going to happen to the Super Awards after this. It was the best awards, I think, that the organization gave out. A lot better than some of those other politically correct awards. And this one just, wow. Talk about shooting yourself in the foot. It doesn't work. I'll tell you what is a kind of a gamble that may or may not work, and that is event movies. Let me tell you a little bit about these. The Beatles are coming back to movies. In fact, they're going to be in 4 movies, and all 4 movies are going to be released in the same year. That's 2027, so we're way off. Sam Mendes is putting together biopics from the viewpoint of each Beatle. Now, that's kind of an interesting perspective and an interesting event. And it is events like these that the movie companies are using to try to bring people back into the theater. I mean, right now, theaters are really hurting. What's the reason to go? Half the time when the movies come out, they come out in the theaters the same time as they do on the streamers, or they're within weeks they're on the streamers and you don't have to go anywhere. You sit at home, make your own popcorn, and watch the movies. So they want to turn these things into events, and Sam Mendes is really trying this with the Beatle movie. Man, is this going to work? I really don't know. Kevin Costner's doing it too. He's coming up with a 2-part Western, and he's going to release one in July and one in September. So one thing good about this, the movie companies get to save an awful lot of money because these movies are shot simultaneously. So you need really only one crew, one set of actors, and everything is shot all at one time, and then they're released, a few months within each other. It's an interesting gamble, and it will be interesting if they can pull this off. I think it's also interesting that they decided to do this with Costner with the Western, and which I think is going to be just the Western version of Waterworld, to be honest with you. And that Sam picked the Beatles to do this. I'd love to talk about a whole lot of stuff, but we're fast running out of time here. Dave's giving me the signal. Cut. We're running out of time. So I want to remind you that we are on Twitter now. Rex and I are on Twitter. Here is the URL for you, twitter.com/RexReal. Join, talk to us. I'm on there every day just to see how things are going. We'll see if we can build that up a little bit. Want to remind you that Rex has his own store for swag and good kind of stuff on Redbubble. Here's the URL for that. And this show, we're featuring the tote bags, the Rex Real official tote bags. Buy them. They're 15% off right now at Redbubble. I told you, I teased in the beginning of the show that I'd give you a little lowdown on Godzilla x Kong, the new Empire. Folks, I got a review up on there that is really nifty, talking with people behind the scenes, some pictures behind the scenes of what's going on. And I got all that information for you. It's online. Check us on any of the social networks that we're on. You'll be able to see that review, and I'll give you the 411 on all of that. And now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth your lesson.